Hey guys, I am here with Willowsnapping. You guys know him. He has been featured in the channel many times because he creates great videos about DC Dual Force. And we are going to chat with him right now about the two newest reveals that were made about DC Dual Force. One is the Lex Luthor with Superman, and today we got the Harley Quinn with the Flash. So we are going just to talk about whatever we feel about these cards, the factions, the powers, the abilities, what this means for the game, how leaders work, and everything about it. So I hope you guys enjoy it and can derive fun and information about this chat. So bro, Willow, present yourself if you want to.
Yeah, I'm Willowsnapping. I've been doing a bunch of DC Dual Force stuff, and I'm really looking forward to the game. I found an old social media post of mine that dates back 13 years asking for a DC card game. So obviously I'm very excited about this game, and it looks like we're finally in card reveal season, with our most recent update being on Friday, and obviously this update now on Monday. It looks as though weekdays we might be getting a new update every single day. So that's good stuff.
Which is really cool, and I hope that is the case. It will be great to get tomorrow another reveal. You guys were speculating on the Discord channel. By the way, guys, there is a Discord channel for the DC Dual Force. I will leave the link down in the description that you can get in there and yes, interact with us in that DC Dual Force channels and get up to date news about the game. We were speculating on the Discord channel that maybe tomorrow we get Batman plus the Joker, because the only faction that hasn't been revealed yet is the blue faction, and Batman is from the blue faction. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it seems like the way to go so far. We have so far it looks like every faction. I don't know if these have actually been renamed or not. So you talked about it a little bit just before, but we have power, manipulation, aggression, and speed across these two tweets. And previously, these factions were might, tyranny, anarchy, and energy. So I don't know if these have actually been renamed or not. But regardless, the only remaining faction is tactics, and so it would just seem to make sense that we get a tactics reveal. It's kind of weird that we have like an odd number, right? There are 5 factions, so they can't be like 2 new factions in the next tweet, right? They have to, whatever they do, whatever the next reveal is, it will be an overlap with one of the factions we've already seen so far. Or they'll just reveal the one card. Maybe they just reveal Batman or whatever.
Yes, it can happen like that too. Or if we take like 2 reveals at the same time to bring something new, and we need the blue thing, and we take the progression that we have Superman plus Lex Luthor, hero plus villain, and they are related. We have the Flash plus Harley Quinn, hero plus villain. They are not that related, but if we get Batman, we have to get the Joker, right? So that would make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense that there's a lore connection there. The only connection between Flash and Harley is that they have like the same archetype, right? They're both aggressive cards, so they don't have like a lore connection, but there's like I see why they use both of these 2 cards at the same time, right? They're both
like a gameplay connection. Mm-hmm. The other thing, I am interested in that name change about the factions, because we know that some people were saying like tyranny and anarchy are not great names because that doesn't encompass a lot of characters in terms of lore or personality in the DC universe. But at the same time, I kind of like those names just because the way they sound, like anarchy, tyranny, it sounds cool, you know? And if those words are constricting on the designer space because of the personality of the characters, wouldn't you think that something like manipulation and aggression might be limiting too? Like, now you have to put things into aggression that are aggressive, so you constrict the cards that can be in there in terms of mechanics. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's like hit or miss. It depends on the particular name change that we talk about. Assuming that these are name changes, they might not even be
they might not be name
right?
changes. Yes.
Yeah, but if they are name changes, I think the power name change is a bit better than might, actually. I think that's a better name. Manipulation versus tyranny, I'm a bit 50-50 on. Like, I don't particularly mind. I think they both sound cool. And then aggression, I think, is just worse than anarchy. I think anarchy sounded way cooler than aggression does. And I don't think it opens up any that design space that you were talking about between anarchy and aggression. I think most cards that would fit into the aggression category would fit into the anarchy category. And then speed is if anything, speed is way more limited than the previously named energy. Energy encompasses a whole ton of different characters. Cyborg can be energy, right? Because he's the machines and stuff, but he certainly can't be speed. Yeah, I think speed would be even more limiting than the previously named energy.
I agree completely, yes, because as you said, in energy you can do a lot of stuff. Dudes that are androids, cyborgs, robots, dudes that are just pure energy, that have energy projection or whatever. But at speed, now you have just people that can move fast, right? So
yeah.
It is weird. Maybe this is not name changes, and they are just putting a word in there that is representative of the character or of the card, you know.
Yeah, I think honestly, if it wasn't for speed here, I would just believe that these are name changes. But speed makes me think maybe it's not a name change, because the name change from energy to speed feels very strange to me. But we'll see, I guess.
So one thing we can notice here in the cards is that previously leaders had in the other reveals that were like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I don't remember. Cards leaders at least had 2 abilities. Now we only see 1 ability in each of the leaders. So maybe they try to simplify the way leaders work. And we see that they maintain the charge component to play the cards. But in the Harley Quinn, we see that Harley Quinn is the first card that has 2 abilities, 1 passive and 1 active. Like the other cards only have 1 active. What do you think about all of that?
I think the change to 1 ability is probably better for the game. Previously, the 2 ability thing was really interesting, right? It's really cool. There's a lot of depth you can have in a single card, but if you limit it to just 1 ability per character, that lets you make more characters than you otherwise would be able to previously. If 1 card is taking up twice the amount of design space, it makes it more difficult to add more leaders over time. So 1 ability per leader is probably better for the game. Plus, you already have a lot of creativity with just the 2 leaders. You control 2 leaders anyway, so you're always going to have access to 2 leader abilities anyway. When leaders previously had 2 abilities, it was kind of like having 4 abilities, right? Because you had 2 different characters you were controlling simultaneously. So it was probably a bit too much before. So I like that they've restricted it a little bit. The new Harley Quinn having 2 abilities, I mean, really she has 1 passive and 1 active. So really, she still has just the 1 active ability. I guess we'll talk about her specific effect in a minute, but it's actually not our first example of that. I think Black Adam, who we saw in a graphic earlier, is also an example of that. He has a passive effect as well, and then a separate active effect. So, yeah, I think this is very cool because it lets you be more flexible with your strategy, and it lets them do more creative things rather than just limiting stuff to a single activation.
Yes, I'll be honest. I like this approach of having 1 passive and 1 active. I believe it is really, really cool. I love it, but I don't know if some people will feel like those cards are better, or maybe the effects are weaker and the cards that only have 1 active ability, the effects are stronger, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing that a little bit here with Harley Quinn. Compare Harley Quinn's active to the Flash's active right here on this graphic. Flash is getting, quote unquote, 4 damage for his activation, but Harley Quinn's only getting 3 for hers.
Exactly, and maybe you get some stuff in the future where I don't know, you buff the Flash with something that says every time this card hits, you draw a card, and since you hit twice, you draw 2 cards. For example, just imagining 1 combo that may benefit from hitting twice, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And the Harley Quinn doesn't have that. But going back to the first cards, we also see that they updated the health of Superman, right? They kind of buffing, so maybe they were playtesting stuff and they decided they needed leaders to have more health. And the Flash also happened because the Flash was like 14 health and now he has 17 health. We can't derive much information from there, but at least we know that they decided at some point that they needed more health.
Yeah, it looks like leaders in general have, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but every leader we've seen revealed from 2021 to the most recent updates have all gone up in health, somewhere between 3 to 5 in value. So, yeah, at some point during development, health went up pretty dramatically.
So we can see that Superman ability. By the way, the charge system. Do we have a confirmation of how the charge system works? Because I believe my assumption is that you get one charge each turn and they stack. But what happens if you use, like Superman has that you need 3 charges? Okay, you use 3 charges one turn. On the third turn, let's assume. On the fourth turn, do you get back the charges and now you have 4, or you only have 1? Do we know how this works?
So what we know from the GameSpot article back in 2021 is that each turn you get 1 charge for each of your leaders. So Superman's charge is separate from Lex Luthor's charge. So if I use the 3 charge on Superman, that's not removing 3 charge from Lex Luthor. He still has access to however much charge he had. As for, I think when you use charge, it's gone. You don't get that back until it naturally comes back. So like on turn 3, if I use Superman's ability, I won't have 4 charge next turn. I'll have 1.
Okay, that is cool to know.
Yeah. I assume that is the case just based on Lex Luthor's effect, which I'm sure we'll get into. But because Lex Luthor specifically refunds you some of your charge, and that wouldn't make much sense if you're getting it back anyway, right?
Exactly. So in Superman's ability, we see that he gets 7 attack. That is a lot if you compare it to the Flash and Harley Quinn, right? The Flash gets 2. If you attack twice, that is like getting 4. And Harley Quinn gets 3. But Superman gets 7. And on top of that, he's invincible this turn. We don't have a confirmation of what invincible is, right? Because I could interpret it 2 ways. Like, he can't die or he can't take damage. Which of the 2?
So we assuming that hasn't changed from 2021. Back in 2021, they confirmed what Invincible does. Invincible does prevent damage as well as preventing death. So Superman can attack something without receiving retaliate damage as long as that hasn't changed in the last year of development.
That is really powerful then, right? You can just destroy a lot of stuff your opponent summons with impunity, without getting retaliation damage. That is awesome, bro.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you kind of mentioned it there as well. It's also a really strong offensive tool. 7 damage is pretty crazy. If you math it out, it's roughly equivalent. It's slightly worse. No, wait, hold on. Let me do math, make sure I'm correct. It's actually slightly more damage per charge spent than the Flash. So there's probably going to be a deck you can make that just goes all in on damage, Superman, Flash, and just use your abilities on cooldown, dealing as much damage as possible. That probably goes really hard.
Yes, like a super aggro deck. Another thing we can derive from here, or is a question at least, this turn means your half of the turn or means both turns? Because maybe you attack with Superman, you deal damage, but now he's invincible, and in the opponent's turn, he doesn't take any damage. What do you think about that?
Ooh, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that. My assumption is it's just for your half of the turn. So when it passes to the opponent, I assume that they're good to go. That Invincible no longer applies.
I would assume too, because if he remains invincible, that is really strong, right?
Yeah, it's very, very, very good.
So yes, we know that the red faction, the might or power faction where Superman is, we can see that they are relying here on big, strong guys, right? And that is cool. If you like big, strong guys, you go with red.
Yep, and the other revealed leader for that faction is Wonder Woman. So it's going to be people like that, whether it be an alien or something. They're going to be significantly, as far as the law is concerned, they'll be like significantly stronger people than like regular people.
Exactly. And moving to the other card that was revealed, and this was the new card that we didn't knew for sure we were going to get this card as a leader. We speculated that we might get it because in the original poster of this Dual Force, there are several characters in there. And it was, of course, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Harley Quinn, and other cards that we know that are in the game. And Lex Luthor was featured in there, and we speculated that we might get Lex Luthor, and we did get him. So the card was revealed, maybe changing the purple faction name from Tyranny to Manipulation. We don't know this for sure. And we configured Lex Luthor as a purple card. And his ability is, he has 19 health, a little less than Superman, of course, that makes sense. And for 4 charges, so more than Superman, he can just KO, knock out, or delete, destroy a recruit. We assume that recruit is a minion, a card that you summon to fight for you. And if they were friendly, draw 2 cards and charge Lex Luthor twice. So from here we derive that you can knock out a friendly minion or recruit, but also an enemy recruit. So if there is an enemy recruit that is standing in your way, you can just knock out it. Or if it is friendly, you can do it and you draw 2 cards and you get back 2 charges. So if you are going to kill a friendly recruit, this only costs 2 charges essentially. In my opinion, this also means that we are going to get cards that get an upside from dying or for getting destroyed. What do you think about Lex Luthor, Willow?
I'm really excited for Lex Luthor. I don't think I'm going to lean towards this type of playstyle when the game first comes out, but I think this card will be very, very fun. Think about it like this. How many situations have you been playing a traditional card game and you have a situation where I need to kill my opponent's card, but I don't draw my removal? Lex Luthor is just a removal attached to your leader. You don't even have to run anything that destroys opponent's cards. You can just rely on Lex Luthor hitting his ability. And then on top of that, it has the second functionality of also being a potential card draw engine. And like you said, there'll almost certainly be manipulation or tyranny cards that synergize with dying. Maybe something like Solomon Grundy, who's it would make sense for his effect to be something that rewards him for dying. So yeah, fun effect. I will say that draw card is a little less strong in this game than it is in normal card games. So keep that in mind. When you see draw 2 on a traditional card game, you think, oh, that's super, super powerful, and it still is going to be very good, but it is slightly worse in a normal card game because at least if nothing has changed in the course of a year, you won't you'll have a new turn. You'll have a new hand, every turn. So you'll have to use that card this turn. You can only play 2 cards per turn, so the draw 2 is a little bit worse because you're not guaranteed to be able to get value out of those 2 cards.
Oh yes, because exactly like you said, when I see the words draw 2 cards, and in the Harley Quinn one, when she says draw a card, yes, I do think immediately, wow, this is good. Drawing cards is always great, right? But the draw mechanic works different in this Dual Force if everything is the same as last time, where you just draw 5 cards and each turn, and you get your cards back to the deck at the end of the turn. Is that right?
Yeah, so every turn you'll draw 5, and then you get to play 2, and then whatever cards you don't play get discarded, and you draw another 5. So each and every turn you only have 5 options. You pick 2 of those. So draw cards is just increasing your options of cards to play, rather than it's just increasing your options for that turn.
Exactly. It is like, well, the 5 cards that I got, I don't like them, or I like one of them, I am looking for another card. Then you use Lex Luthor ability to see what other 2 cards you have available.
Yep.
Okay. That is cool to know. But then that brings me to the question, and we can jump to Harley Quinn, that she says end adrenaline, draw a card, meaning adrenaline means that if you have an empty hand, this happens. But does end means at the end of the turn. But if your turn ended and you are going to draw 5 cards when you get your turn back, why do you need to draw a card at this point?
Yeah, my guess is that end turn effects will trigger after you draw your new hand, or else this effect would be pointless, right? So instead of drawing your new hand at the start of your next turn, my guess is that you draw your new hand, like the turn ends, then you discard your hand, then you draw your new hand, and then end of turn effects resolve. Is my
that would be cool. In that case, with Harley Quinn, you get 6 cards, right?
Yeah, you would start your turn with 6 options to choose from, which is really quite nice. The only problem is emptying your hand with that card draw system is substantially harder than it is in a normal card game. So my guess is that the aggression faction or the anarchy faction has access to some type of discard mechanic or some way to play maybe worse than average cards, but for free. Maybe they don't count as like playing a card, or they have some type of condition that lets you empty your hand a little bit faster than otherwise possible.
Yes, that would make sense. But because if you are compelled to only play 2 cards a turn, getting rid of the other 3 cards might be hard if you can discard them, or do some kind of effect that triggers card from hand or whatever,
Yeah.
The other thing we can see here with Harley Quinn is what we said earlier, that for 2 charges she gets +3 attack. So a very kind of weak ability if we compare it to the other characters, right?
Yeah,
the active ability.
Yeah, comparatively, her active ability seems quite a bit weaker than other characters. It seems very energy efficient though. 2 energy for 3 it seems pretty decent. Like for an underwhelming effect, it seems efficient. But the real selling point for Harley Quinn is that she also has that passive effect that you don't have to pay for. Yeah.
We see here that they wrote aggression on top of the Harley Quinn health, you know, so we can see the health of Harley Quinn. I assume they still are thinking what the final number is, and they don't want to reveal it yet in case they change it. What do you think?
It might be that. It also might just be that it looks the best there. If you look at the Lex Luthor graphic, they just put it front and center. But if you put it front and center on that Harley Quinn text, it would cover like a decent portion of like the art. Also,
and the most important portion, brother.
But also you miss out on, they've got this new symbol in the middle, the little and symbol that wasn't in the previous graphic, and it would probably look a little bit weird if the aggression text was like too close to that. So my guess is that this is just to make the graphic look nice rather than like intentionally covering up the defense value. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to, because maybe they're not sure of the final value yet.
Both possibilities are possible. So who knows, but it is cool to know this, brother. And the Flash, brother, I know that the Flash, you were really excited about the Flash in the old version, because the Flash used to have an ability that for 4 charges you could have a second turn, you could play again your turn. Now they remove that ability, and now you get for 2 charges the Flash gets +2 and flurry means that he can attack twice this turn. And he only has 17 health, and if you attack twice and you take retaliation damage both times, maybe you will get really hurt. So there must be some workaround for this ability with other supporting cards, you know? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the main focus with the Flash will be hitting the enemy in the face rather than opponent cards, because yeah, he just seems like the type of card that's what you want to do. You just want to keep hitting the opponent's face as much as possible. There are going to be situations where you want to hit recruits and stuff. And it is a big shame that I think of all of the cards that from the old version of the game that had 2 abilities versus the new version, the Flash has been hurt the most. You know, he lost his cool big flashy effect. But I mean, now he'll be much more concentrated into the aggression category. And you are right that 17 health is very low. It's the lowest health value we've seen on a leader so far. So he's going to be squishy, but the trade-off is he's very, very energy efficient, or not energy efficient, charge efficient. The 2 cost for 4 damage is super good. Every 2 turns, I'm removing 4 health from your leader. So yeah, that seems pretty good.
Yes, really, really cool. And do we assume that on our turn when we attack, we don't take retaliation damage because leaders don't have damage intrinsically or at the same as Superman? Do we assume that if they use their ability, they will retain the damage for that turn?
Yeah, my assumption is they keep their they don't keep their attack value when it passes to the other player. Like it's not the round, right? It's not the, and again, this is all just assumptions. We don't know, but yes. My guess is that if I, on my turn, choose to use the Flash's effect and then pass to you during your action, my Flash won't have that 2 attack still. He'll have 0. I mean, I'm just guessing, but that's my guess.
Okay, brother. Okay, so we have covered the 4 cards that have been revealed. Now, let's rank it. You and me. We will each give our rankings 1 to 4. What our favorite cards are. I will tell you, my number 1 is Lex Luthor, my number 2 is Harley Quinn, my number 3 is the Flash, and my number 4 is the Superman. What is your top, brother?
I think I might literally be the reverse. I didn't keep track of if you're 1 and 2 there, but I'm most excited to use Superman. I think he's great. Using him as a removal tool or an aggression tool sounds really fun. That flexibility is really cool. The Flash, the second most excited about, mainly for the character aspect. I'm a big Flash fan. but obviously his effect isn't very, pardon the pun, but very flashy. But regardless, I'm excited about it. And then it's probably Harley Quinn for me. The passive effect is very interesting, and then Lex Luthor coming in last. Not because he's not interesting. I'm very excited about Lex Luthor. He's cool, but I'm more excited about these other characters here.
Yes, apparently we are like polar opposites in the type of gameplay that we like. You know, I want this trickery that Lex Luthor puts forward, and this just hit in the face. I don't like it that much. But yeah, I am willing to play it too, of course.
I'll be honest. Normally, I don't enjoy aggro gameplay styles. Like, I didn't play a ton of aggro decks in like Hearthstone and stuff like that. But I think aggro will be a more interesting archetype in Dual Force because you have to beat both of their leaders, and picking which ones to target is probably more of an interesting gameplay loop than traditional aggro gameplay styles. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out.
Yes, brother, yes. Well, this is very interesting. I hope we can do this later. I hope we get a bunch of reveals throughout the week, and we can do this again, brother. This was really interesting. Obviously, you know a lot about the game, and you are excited and hyped about the game. The same as me, brother. And yes, I hope we can keep doing this and keep covering the news about DC Dual Force. Guys, Willowsnapping, we will leave the link down in the description to the Discord channel and to his channel if you want to check out his videos. He has a ton of videos about DC Dual Force. Really cool stuff, cool guy. And thanks for being here, Willow, bro.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Jazz. I had a blast. Maybe we can do this next week with me have more cards.
Nice. So, guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And remember, as a great Bill Hicks said, this is just a ride.